Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It is so good to see everybody. Hello. How are you doing? Sorry, I'm like a minute or so late. I'm coming in kind of hot. Just got finished lifting, so I'm coming straight from exercising right into the chat. So sorry it took me like a minute. My workout went a little bit longer than I expected today. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch to talk about today, y'all. We have so much news to get to, tons of topics, kind of as we know, really ever since this year kicked off, right? Like right off the bat in January, the amount of video game industry news has been crazy. It's just been like a nonstop barrage of video game news. And really that continued over the last week or so since our last live chat. So we got a lot to talk about, right? We can talk about Nintendo's financial results. We can talk about Sony's financial results. We can talk about Take-Two and EA dropped some financial results. The big news that just came out today, obviously, it sounds like Call of Duty is absolutely remaining a multi-platform franchise, and it sounds like some other Blizzard titles probably are as well. So we can talk about that and so much more. There's been multiple huge video game launches, right? We had Pokemon Legends Arceus selling 6.5 million units in like 3 days. We have Dying Light 2, which set the biggest concurrent users ever for any sort of like zombie game on Steam. We had Lost Ark that's putting up record-breaking numbers, right? Top 6 all-time launch on Steam. So there's a ton to get to today, y'all. So if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, basically the way it works, it's a show, it's a stream, it's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions. You just drop them down into chat, and I get to as many questions as I possibly can. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, it drops into chat, and I get to as many of those as I possibly can. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. However, as always, don't feel pressured, don't feel obligated to do that. It's just a way to help support me and support the channel and guarantee that I get to your question. So start filling that chat up and dropping them questions. I'm going to really quick give you a brief overview of some of those stories that I was talking about right before I jump into your questions and comments. So first, let's really quick recap exactly what Microsoft said today, okay? I'm going to read you their exact statement because it's pretty clear in my opinion. There was a lot of debate before this. Is Call of Duty going to be multi-platform? Even after Phil Spencer's comments, they seemed somewhat vague. I feel like we have a pretty definitive answer now. So Microsoft came out in an article today, and basically they were talking about how all the steps they're going to do to not be a monopoly or antitrust. And one of these statements in here, I'm going to read you the full thing because it's pretty important and pretty definitive. So this is directly from Microsoft. First, some commentators have asked whether we will continue to make popular content like Activision's Call of Duty available on competing platforms like Sony's PlayStation. The obvious concern is that Microsoft could make this title available exclusively on the Xbox console, undermining opportunities for Sony PlayStation users. To be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. We are also interested in taking similar steps to support Nintendo's successful platform. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for gamers, and for our business. Y'all, I mean, that is literally clear cut. There's no other way to read that. Call of Duty is absolutely remaining a fully multi-platform title. So that's pretty interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions about that. So don't worry, we're going to get to them. But I wanted to read that statement off the top. And then just a couple more highlights before we start diving in. I'm going to really quick recap what happened with Sony and Nintendo's financials for you. So first, let's give you PlayStation's result. PS5 shipped 3.9 million units of hardware over the holiday quarter, so by the end of December. Lifetime total now is at 17.3 million units. 11.3 million units of first-party software were sold that quarter. Digital software ratio is 62%. There's 48 million PlayStation Plus subscribers and 111 million monthly active PlayStation users. Now, a couple things to note really quick about that. PlayStation 5 is now falling behind PlayStation 4 by quite a bit launch aligned. So in the same period of time, if you look at the PlayStation 5 and you look at the PlayStation 4, it's really falling behind by quite a bit now. We're talking millions of units behind the PlayStation 4. Clearly, this has nothing to do with demand, right? PlayStation 5 sell out as soon as they go on the market, but it shows you just how bad the shortage issues are that they can't even keep pace with PlayStation 4. Now, to piggyback off that, don't expect these shortages to get better over the next few months. In fact, Sony actually revised down their forecast of PlayStation 5 for the fiscal year. And they're actually projecting that through the January and March quarter, they're going to ship out 1.3 million less PlayStation 5s than they did this time last year. So last year they shipped 3.3 million between January and March. This time they're only going to ship 2 million between January and March. So not only are shortages not going to improve, they're going to get worse. So that's pretty crazy to see there. But overall, PlayStation results are really, really good, right? They're really, really strong. It's just hardware is a little concerning. Not because of demand, just because they are struggling heavily to produce these units. A couple other things really quick that they pointed out. They want to launch 10 live service games by March 2026. So Sony going all in on big multiplayer games. They want to grow their games and franchises beyond just PlayStation consoles. Particularly, I think this means PC. But of course, they also have stuff like MLB The Show going to Xbox and Switch now. But I think the main thing they're highlighting there is PC. And then they want to double their first-party game revenue by 2025 fiscal year. So that's pretty, interesting and incredible stuff there. And then really quick, I'm going to touch on Nintendo, and then I'm getting to your comments and questions. So for Nintendo's earnings, the Switch has now surpassed 100 million units lifetime. Incredible. Now they're up to 103.54 million units. This makes this the most successful Nintendo console of all time. That's right. It has surpassed the Wii, which is pretty crazy, right? We all remember how much of a lightning in a bottle the Wii was and how, insane the momentum felt back then. Switch has actually surpassed Wii, and it still has a lot of life in it. So really incredible result there for the Switch. Nintendo noted that Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they shipped 13.97, almost 14 million units in only 2 months. Incredible result. And then Switch hardware sell-through is still continuing at a record pace, even with shortages. So all pretty incredible stuff. That's the stuff I wanted to highlight off the top. Let's start diving into your comments and questions, everybody. Start filling that chat up. Let's hit some super chats. We got a couple super chats off the top. Plastic Hearts here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts. Benji Boy, think we see some kind of actual contract from Microsoft instead of them just promising to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation? It's a great question, Plastic Hearts. So right now, yes. Right now, it is just promises. Here's the thing. Microsoft themselves cannot legally do anything until the Activision Blizzard acquisition is complete, right? They can say some things. They can say like what their goals are or things they want to do, but they can't give you any definitive statements, right? Like Microsoft right now can't flat out come out and say, this is what we're going to do with Overwatch 2. And, this is what we're going to do with Diablo, because even though they're currently in the steps to acquire Activision Blizzard, they don't actually own them. So they legally can't do anything. So will there actually be a contract once this all goes through? I don't know that Microsoft would put themselves in a box like that, to be honest. I think they want some flexibility to change things up. I would say I think the only way you see an outright contract between Microsoft and Sony, right? Like, hey, we're going to give you the next 10 years of Call of Duty, and it's signed in ink. I think the only way you would see them go out of their way to do something like that, Plastic Hearts, would be if there's something in return for them as well, right? If Sony gave in and they were like, all right, we'll put Game Pass on PlayStation if you guarantee us this or something like that, right? I'm not saying that this is like a guarantee, but if Microsoft's going to get a kickback from it as well. I think that's the only way they would actually, put themselves in a box to guarantee many, many years of Call of Duty, right? Because clearly Sony's not going to have marketing rights once that ends, so there's no contract that's going to be there through marketing. Trust me, Microsoft's going to, market the heck out of the fact that this is now a Game Pass title and all of that. So that's kind of my thoughts. I'm not saying like a full-on contract unless Microsoft's going to get something from Sony as well, which isn't impossible, right? There could be something. Who knows? It doesn't have to be Game Pass. Maybe there's something else they agree on. But otherwise, I think they'll just stick to promises because, you want to have your business to be flexible if you need it to be. And thank you so much for that Super Chat, Plastic Hearts. Always so supportive, man. All right, a super chat here from Lorenzo. Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Some say that PlayStation overpaid for Bungie, but everyone seems to miss the fact that PlayStation knows what their next game is. Yes, I pointed this out as well, so good call out, Lorenzo. And that the game can be as big as Destiny. Plus, you add value for PlayStation's games as a service projects. Yeah, Lorenzo, I think those are great points. So was Bungie super expensive? Yeah, over $3 billion. This is very expensive for a single studio and not a publisher. But I think that is a great point. People forget, Destiny has generated billions of dollars. Like literally, Destiny by itself over the years has generated billions. And everyone's just focusing on what, they're going to get out of Destiny for this. But to be clear, Bungie has a new IP in development, and it's been in development for years now, multiple years. In fact, I won't be surprised if Bungie announces this game in the next year or two. It's very possible. I don't think it's going to release, right? I think this game is still a couple years away probably, because it sounds like it is a very ambitious, giant, some sort of other MMO or online service type game. So I'm personally not expecting this to release this year, maybe not even next year, but a kind of way to like celebrate this partnership and show the future. I won't be surprised if you see this announced, let's say, in the next year or so. I don't think that it's necessarily an imminent announcement, but I also don't necessarily think this game's like 3 years away from being revealed, just because it's already been in development 4 years, and they'll want to drive that hype up for it. So, no, Lorenzo, I think it's a great point. If PlayStation looks at this IP, whatever it is, and they think, wow, this could be the next Destiny, not only are they going to get a ton of revenue from Destiny moving forward, we've talked about on the chat, the Witch Queen right now is on track to be the most pre-ordered Destiny 2 expansion ever, right? This game's been out for years, and it's still growing. Over 1 million pre-orders for, that's just pre-orders, not sale, over 1 million pre-orders for the Witch Queen expansion. So they're going to get years of revenue out of Destiny still, and on top of that, potentially another Destiny level IP out of whatever's next. I see why they would be very attractive for Sony. So there's going to be a lot of debate. Was $3 billion too much? Maybe in a couple years it looks like an absolute steal if this next IP is giant. But I can kind of see why they did it, to be honest. I can kind of see why they would have went for this, especially if they have a lot of confidence in that IP. So great point out, Lorenzo. Timmer here with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Timmer. Always in chat every single time. No question today. Just wanted to show my support. Thank you so much, Timmer, and thank you for always being supportive, my man. Benji here with a 10. What is up, Benji? Hi, Benji. Could you give us some analysis on the 10 live games Sony would like to bring to market by 2026? How those games will coexist with the beloved narrative franchise? Great question, Benji. So there's actually a couple things that we really need to note about this. Some people, I think, are panicking that this means that, Sony's going to step back from their big, giant narrative games that people love, right? The Horizons, the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, or that they're a little worried that these games might turn into, yeah, the franchise is still going, but with a lot of multiplayer focus, with that single player. There's a couple of things to keep in mind here. Some of these 10 games are not coming directly from the first-party studios that Sony owns. We already know that Jade Raymond's new studio is one of these games. It's published by Sony. However, it's not taking away resources from, let's say, Santa Monica or Insomniac or Naughty Dog, right? That's a separate team that Sony's helping fund the game. We already know that game's a live service game, so there's one for you right there. We know that I can't remember the name of the studio off my head, at the top of my head, but that big first-person shooter new studio, right? That has talent from like Call of Duty working there and others. We know that's a live service game. So there's two of them right there that aren't Sony's first-party teams, taking away from them and their single-player games. So I think some of it's going to be that, right? Some of it's going to be through partnerships. However, we also know that some of their first-party studios are working on these types of games, right? We know that Naughty Dog is making Factions 2. We don't know how ambitious that's going to be, what all it's going to be like, but it's basically the Last of Us multiplayer game. I have a feeling it's pretty ambitious considering it's a standalone project. So we know that's going to be a live service game. However, we also know that Naughty Dog has other projects in the works there as well. So I think that Sony's goal is going to be a balance, right? I really doubt that they're going to just forget about these big giant single player games. That really is what made Sony so beloved in terms of their first party. If you look at the growth of first party sales that Sony had between, let's say, like the PlayStation 3 generation and the PlayStation 4. They had huge growth in first party. And what did, Sony primarily focus on that generation? It was these big, huge AAA single-player narrative games. They know that. They're not going to just throw that to the side and be like, we're not making these types of games anymore. However, they also know there's huge amounts of money to be made in these live service games. So I think it's going to be a balance. I think you will see many of PlayStation's first-party games having some sort of multiplayer element. Keep in mind, a live service game doesn't necessarily have to be strictly, the next Fortnite or the next Apex Legends. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Sony would love to have something that of that degree of success. But it can also be games incorporating co-op elements, right? And expansions over time going into that co-op. So I wouldn't be too scared about this. I know some Sony fans really are scared about this, but I think some of the things I'm laying out there, keep in mind, some of these games are going to come from partners, and some of these games are going to be additive. Sony has really bulked up their first-party teams. Everyone's talking about acquisitions, but one thing that's kind of floating under the radar is studios like Guerrilla, like Naughty Dog, like Insomniac, like Sucker Punch. They've been staffing up big time. They've been hiring tons and tons of people. And I think a lot of these studios are going to start to become multi-game projects, right? We kind of saw in the PS4 generation that most of their teams did one game at a time. There was a few exceptions to that. But for the most part, it was, hey, we're making Uncharted 4. Then when Uncharted 4 is done, we're going to make The Last of Us Part 2, right? Or, we're going to make Infamous Second Son, and then we're going to make Ghost of Tsushima. I think now you're going to see more co-development, of multiple games. But yeah, that's kind of some of my thoughts. Thank you so much, Sir Benji. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog going nuts. It's because a package is being delivered. He's going to calm down in just a minute. Joseki here with the 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Joseki. Surprised by Nintendo Switch being carried by Europe. Best year yet. Joseki, this came as a big surprise to me. I think we talked about that back during the when we got the Black Friday results and how it was the best Black Friday ever in Europe for Switch. And I think that caught a lot of people, myself, off guard. Because what we saw was that the United States was down year over year, and we saw Japan was down year over year. So in your mind, you think, hey, if these territories are down year over year, you're going to think that Europe's down year over year as well. But actually, Europe is doing amazing for the Switch. I honestly don't know an exact explanation for this, Joseki. I don't know. I'm sure somebody out there has done extensive research on this and has all the answers. But for me, I'm not sure. There wasn't a certain game to me that stood out as a huge driver. I mean, we know Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were huge games, but I don't know that they themselves moved that much hardware since there were so many Pokemon games already. I don't know that Shin Megami Tensei would be the kind of game to move hardware, right? Probably pretty unlikely. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Joseki, but it is a surprise. It is a surprise, and I wonder if that momentum can continue. Thank you for that super chat, Joseki. Killian Butler here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Killian. Hi, Benji. How are you? Glad I could catch the chat. Keep being awesome. Thank you so much. It's really kind. Any predictions slash hopes for the Nintendo Direct today? Yeah, there's a big Nintendo Direct today, y'all. 40 minutes. I'm expecting this to honestly be pretty beefy. I don't think this is going to be a small Direct. 40 minutes, as we know, is pretty long, right? There's been some Directs that are like 20 minutes. 40 minutes is pretty beefy. I'm expecting this to be pretty darn big. Now, you're seeing a whole bunch of rumors floating around out there. We're going to see Mario Kart 9 and we're going to see, whatever. I don't know how many gigantic new games we've never heard of will be here. I suspect there might be one or two because Nintendo usually does. Keep in mind, this Direct, the statement was primarily focused on games in the first half of the year. But they always make these statements, and oftentimes on the big Directs, they slip in at least one or two further off announcements. I think we will get something like that. What it's going to be, who knows? But I think we're going to get one or two of these types of announcements. But I also really think there's a strong chance that we're going to get a Splatoon 3 date. That to me wouldn't be surprising at all. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Breath of the Wild sequel. I don't know if they'll date the Breath of the Wild sequel yet, but maybe they will finally give it a name. We know it's not Breath of the Wild 2. They've said they've been keeping the name secret. Maybe we'll get a trailer with the name, not a date, but maybe the name. So, that's a few things. I really want to see both of those games. I think they have potential to be gigantic, both of them. In terms of like a pie in the sky dream, right? Something just unexpected that I'd love to see. I'd love to see Metroid Prime 4. I really don't think we're going to see it. I think it's pretty unlikely considering that game we've still seen nothing but a logo. But if I could just have a dream, we're going to see something here that is pretty unexpected, I'd say Metroid Prime 4. Yes, we know it exists, but we've seen so little, I don't think most people are expecting it here. So that would be like a dream, but I'm not expecting it. So the main two things I'm looking for, Splatoon 3 date and the Breath of the Wild sequel name and some sort of new info. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a big one. Kelligrim here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kelligrim. It's great to see you, man. Sup, Benji? With all the recent acquisitions, is it possible for a purchase of an already owned studio? Would love to see Sony get BioWare. Keep being awesome. It's always possible, Kelligrim, and thank you so much, man, for that 10 super chat. BioWare is close to 0%, very close to 0% that anyone's going to buy BioWare. EA really is, they're basically the biggest third-party publisher now, right? Once Activision Blizzard leaves, we're talking in the console space, once Activision Blizzard's gone, now it's EA. EA's the big dog in the AAA console publishing space. EA's not going to be in any rush to compromise that position. This is actually a pretty big opportunity for EA, to be honest with you. If this acquisition goes through, if Activision Blizzard does get acquired by Microsoft, if I'm EA, I'm actually kind of celebrating a little bit because now you are basically the biggest of those third-party publishers still left in the game. We're not going to count something like Tencent, for example, even though Tencent is a juggernaut. We're talking strictly primarily like the console and PC space. We know Tencent wants to expand into that, but right now they're still not really like that in the West. They're still really heavily mobile focused, with some investments, but we're just not seeing them publish a tons of games on consoles and stuff. So right now, EA is that player. They're not going to want to give up studios. They're not going to want to give up resources. If anything, I think you're going to see EA themselves acquire people. I think they're going to want to grow because I think that management there probably sees this as an opportunity. So that studio in particular, I would say close to zero. But are there other studios that could, if they're owned, get sold? Yeah, I think the prime candidate here, unfortunately, it's not for PlayStation, it's for Xbox. I think the one everyone's keeping their eye on is Crystal Dynamics, right? At Square Enix. They're literally making an Xbox exclusive first party game right now, which does feel pretty weird, right? They're owned by Square Enix, and yet they're not even making a Square Enix game. Square Enix isn't even publishing the game, right? It's not like a timed exclusive deal like you're seeing with Final Fantasy 16, where it's like, yeah, Square Enix is making an exclusive, but, it's still really a Square Enix game. Like, it's their IP. It's Final Fantasy. No, Crystal Dynamics is making Perfect Dark. It's literally a Microsoft IP. So, who knows? If that goes on to be a big success, and Square Enix doesn't know what they're going to do with that studio next, maybe Microsoft buys Crystal Dynamics. So it is possible. It's just you have to have the publisher want to sell. And BioWare, I just can't see happening. So, that's a bit of my thoughts specifically on BioWare. But to your overarching question, yes, it is possible. It is definitely possible, Kellegrim. Could happen. I don't rate it as likely as like independently owned studios, but it is a theoretical thing that can happen. Yeah. Thanks for that super chat, man. Benji here with a 10 super chat. Thank you, Benji. That's your second one of the chat. Benji, Nintendo is selling at a historical pace. We haven't seen the sequel of the main titles yet. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Sword Shield, Mario Kart 8, etc. It's a great point. Most of the biggest franchises on Switch haven't actually gotten a sequel. Should Nintendo push the sequels on Switch too? I suspect possibly some of these are the case. There's lots of rumors floating around about Mario Kart 9 right now. I could be very wrong about this. At this point, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to sell so incredible. Y'all, I mean, most of you probably know this, but listen to this, dude. Listen to this. This is mind-blowing. So right now, Mario Kart, I want to give you the exact part. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, y'all, is at 43.35 million units on Switch. You heard that right. On the Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold 43 million units. And this last quarter was an amazing quarter for it in sales. Like, it's continuing to sell amazing. If I was Nintendo at this point, I would maybe consider saving Mario Kart 9 for Switch 2. Just because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe isn't slowing at all. And Mario, if you put 9 on the Switch 2, what a driver for console adoption that would be. So I'm not going to say that's a lock. They still might do Mario Kart 9 on the regular Switch and then just also have it, available to sell on the Switch 2. That one in particular, though, out of these, maybe you do save that for Switch 2. Breath of the Wild sequel, I'm not expecting them to save that. We don't actually have a date. We just know 2022, but I'm not expecting Switch 2 this year. I actually do think Switch 2 is coming next year. I think 2023 will be the launch of the Switch 2, personally, to be honest with you. I think that's when it's coming. Latest, I would say, would be early 2024. Really don't think they go later than that. I do not expect holiday 2024. So I'm expecting either holiday 2023 for Switch 2 or first half of 2024 for Switch 2. Breath of the Wild sequel will be out before that. So that one not. Mario Odyssey is a weird one. I thought for sure we would have seen Mario Odyssey's sequel by now, but no. Best-selling 3D Mario ever, and there's still no sequel for it. So yeah, that one could also be on the next Switch. It's hard to say, Benji, but if you're asking my opinion, what would I do? The only one to me that I would definitely save would be Mario Kart 9. Just because Deluxe is still selling ridiculous. So you can just continue to have that and then have 9 to drive Switch 2 adoption. But the rest of them, I think you could still put out on Switch 1. All right, Super Chats are cleared. Thank you so much, everyone, for all those Super Chats. Let's start diving into your free questions. Red Dead series. When do you expect Grand Theft Auto 6's trailer? Red Dead, I'm expecting it this year. I said that last year before they even confirmed that it's in development, right? I said on one of these chats, someone was asking me, when do you think we'll see Grand Theft Auto? And I said back then, I think there's a strong chance they announce and reveal Grand Theft Auto 6 this year. My current guess is that when they reveal this game, they will announce it for 2023. Right? That's been kind of what I'm saying. I kind of think that Grand Theft Auto 6 internally is targeting 2023. Now, this very easily could get announced for 2023 and then delayed to 2024 because, as we know, basically every Rockstar game gets at least one delay, oftentimes more than one delay. So my guess, Red Dead, I think you will see, I'm actually fairly confident in it, that they will announce Grand Theft Auto 6 officially with a trailer this year, late in this year. They're not going to want to compromise Grand Theft Auto 5's next-gen launch, right? They're going to wait. But like later this year, pretty late in the year, I think you'll see Grand Theft Auto 6 with a 2023 date. No exact date, but 2023. I really think so. I think that's very, very, very likely. And you saw, I think Jason Schreier actually tweeted this recently, that he was thinking the same thing was possible. So yeah, that's what I'm expecting, Red Dead. Definitely is not coming out this year, though. 0% chance that's a 2022 game. 2023, I think, is when they'll announce it for. Elias Stapleton. Sony was in the position of not having a single game as a service, a successful one. Yeah, pretty much. You're pretty much right, Elias. And now has one of the biggest ones in the world with Destiny. 1 million pre-orders, expansions after Witch Queen in 2023 and 24. What do you think the next big Bungie IP will be? Can Bungie create a bigger game than Destiny? Ooh, bigger than Destiny, I think is going to be hard. People don't realize how enormous Destiny is. Like, I see a lot of people kind of just like not really talk about Destiny much anymore. But it's enormous. We're talking it's one of the biggest games in the industry. Like literally, of any genre. It's one of the biggest. It's not number one, right? It's not bigger than Fortnite. It's not bigger than Call of Duty. But it's one of, yeah, this is one of the biggest service games in the entire industry. So passing that is a steep ask. It's not impossible, but whenever the bar is already so high, it becomes a bit more of a challenge to clear that. So it's possible, going to be tough. I do expect it to be huge. A few things we know through some of the job listings, and who knows if some of this has changed, but they've talked about this game having like whimsical characters and a bit of humor to it. If you want my prediction, I think this is going to look a lot more like something like Overwatch than it does like Destiny. And whenever I say a lot more like Overwatch, I'm not necessarily, Elias, saying in terms of gameplay, though maybe somewhat, but in terms of atmosphere. I think this is going to look a lot different than Destiny. Destiny, is a pretty hardcore sci-fi. There are some funny characters like Cade Six, but for the most part, like they're pretty serious. The Hive and the Vex and the ends of the world and the darkness, right? Like it's a pretty serious sci-fi universe for the most part. I suspect their new IP is going to be aiming to be more of an Overwatch style where people, really love these characters and it's more colorful and humorous. And I really think so, judging by some of the job listings. Again, I'm not necessarily telling you this is going to play like Overwatch or even like art style exactly look like it, but I think it's going to look closer to something like that than it's going to look like Destiny. Dex. Do you think Xbox announcing their intent to keep Call of Duty multi-platform will allow Microsoft to be able to purchase other big publishers while the Activision deal is still being processed? Dex, I would not. If I was Microsoft, I'd be very cautious about this. I've said from the beginning, I don't expect it at all. I think there's almost a 0% chance. You never know, but they're already getting on somewhat risky. To be honest with you, here's something I want to say really quick. I think Microsoft is feeling the pressure right now from regulators. I think behind the scenes there might be a little bit of pressure going on for two key reasons. First of all, Satya's statement where he went out of his way just recently to talk about this. And Satya's like, we're still just third in revenue. It's not a big deal. It's going to go through fine. And then this statement today, y'all, this isn't like a nebulous article. Literally the theme of this article, it's an entire giant article from Microsoft talking about how they're not going to be antitrust. If you're putting that out, that means you're like sending a message. Whoa, we're not antitrust. Let's give you all these reasons why we're not antitrust. I think there might be a little pressure behind the scenes, to be honest. Now, I've said from the beginning, and I still stand by this, I think that this is going to go through. I do think Activision Blizzard's acquisition will go through, but I think there might be a little heat happening right now. I would not buy a publisher. If I'm Microsoft, there is like the last thing on my mind is buying a publisher until this is finalized. Because here's the thing, if you announce that, you very easily could have regulators be like, nope, Activision Blizzard ain't happening no more. Like they could. They absolutely could say that. I would by no means look at a publisher. Could Microsoft get away with like a smaller independent studio, right? Could they buy IO Interactive? Could they buy, someone of that scale? They could probably do that and get away with it. Regulators aren't going to look that hard at that type of thing. But publishers, dude, they're not going to play games with. So, no, I think there's almost no chance. Now, after Activision Blizzard, I wouldn't rule it out. But until that's finalized, no way. They are very brave if they do that, is what I'll say. Danger Man 1337. If Call of Duty titles after Treyarch's Call of Duty in 2023 are still on PlayStation, won't that mean the Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation? No. 0% chance, I think. And also, I wonder if this ties in today's rumors of a Call of Duty subscription. No. Danger Man, no. Nope. That's not going to happen. I think there's almost 0% chance that happens. Very different scenarios. As big as the Elder Scrolls is, Call of Duty's way bigger. Like, way bigger. And the other thing, too, is that I think part of the reason that this is so scrutinized isn't just because of boxed sales, but it's all the DLC and microtransactions and everything like that. So keep in mind, the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, best-selling RPG ever, single-player RPG ever. It sold ridiculous amounts of units. It took many, many years to do that. To put it into perspective, Call of Duty Modern Warfare by itself, just that one game, in, 2019 now? In less than a year, less than 1 year, sold over 30 million units. Not 30 million players. It sold over 30 million units in less than a year. Like, Call of Duty is a whole different level of IP, even over Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls is big, but it ain't Call of Duty. So I don't think so. I think that this is really like about the multiplayer, about how giant of a game it is, about how it hits every year. Elder Scrolls doesn't hit every year, right? Call of Duty is an every single year thing. No. I would not expect Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation. Close to 0% chance that happens. But yeah, Call of Duty definitely going to stay multi-platform. And also from Deadly 8, according to Phil, when Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda was being talked about, they were looking for the next big one. Could that be the same case for Activision? Yeah. So for anyone that missed this, so Phil put out a statement. He was getting interviewed by Axios by Stephen Totillo, and he said literally the day that Bethesda finalized, like once it was done, literally that same day, the board of directors at Microsoft asked, what's next? Deadly 8, I've talked about this a lot. I don't know if they get another publisher. I really don't know if they get another publisher. I do think they will continue to acquire smaller studios like we've talked about, but I don't know. I really think Microsoft might have gotten what they can get with Activision Blizzard. I don't know that regulators will allow anymore after this. They might, but I don't know, to be honest with you. I think we had a super chat. I think we had 2 super chats. Let me hit those really quick. Maybe 3 super chats. Holy cow. All right, Highlander here with a 5. Thank you so much, Highlander. Microsoft is saying this about Call of Duty because the Senate and Congress wants to hold hearings. This is fallout from Epic versus Apple. I do think it's a element, yes. Yeah, I do. I do think that that's why they're coming out and publicly saying this, like I was just talking about. I mean, this statement isn't just by itself, y'all. You can go read the article. It's a whole laundry list of basically Microsoft explaining why they're not antitrust. You only would put this statement out, not just that little blurb, right? Everyone's focusing on the Call of Duty blurb, but this is an entire gigantic article about antitrust and monopoly, basically within app stores and gaming. So, by Highlander, I agree. This statement's only being put out there because of pressure from regulators. I think there's almost no other reason that this would be out like this. It'd be one thing if it's a random tweet, like what Phil did, where he's just like, hey, it's going to be on PlayStation. But you don't write an entire article and publish it for any other reason than to get ahead of it, right? To get ahead of regulation and be like, yo, listen, these are the things we're doing. This is why we're not antitrust. So I agree. Highlander, I think you're right. Yep. And then a second super chat here from Highlander, piggybacking off that, saying, I mean, it is about the digital storefront. Highlander, you're right. Yes, you are right. 100%. The name, like the whole thing was about stores and apps and all of that. Yes, you're 100% correct, Highlander. Absolutely. Tauncy K here with a 10. Thank you so much, Tauncy. What does Activision's Blizzard acquisition mean for third party? Who's going to buy any other shooter if Call of Duty is on Game Pass? Same also for other games. What about indies not on Game Pass? This is going to be anti-consumer and industry. I don't think so. I really don't. I'm one of those people that actually thinks that. Here's the thing. A lot of people talk about how consolidation's so bad with little to no evidence. And I'm not saying you're saying that, Tauncy K. I'm saying you see that a lot. A lot. And you want to know a spicy take? Here's a spicy take. In entertainment specifically, we're only talking entertainment. I'm not talking about other industries because I think there are a lot of examples of this being bad in other industries. For example, internet in the US. In entertainment, there isn't much evidence to support that consolidation's bad. There's very little. In fact, as a consumer, Disney's consolidation has worked out amazing for me. My Disney Plus subscription rocks. I get Marvel. I get Star Wars. I get Disney. Soon I'm going to get Fox stuff. Like, it's worked out great. Disney's consolidation has worked out so well for me as a consumer. I would not be getting all of this content for such a cheap price if they wouldn't have consolidated. In entertainment specifically, people are not going to like hearing this. They're not. There's not a ton of evidence that consolidation is super bad, especially, I would say, for the consumers. Same thing with Xbox. These acquisitions from Xbox have worked out amazingly for me. My Game Pass subscription, the value just continues to rise. It was already sweet, right? Whenever I would get a couple Xbox games on Game Pass. But wait, you're saying now I get Bethesda games on Game Pass? Wait, now you're saying I get Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass? Like, this is working out amazingly for me. Amazingly for me as a consumer. So, I'm just going to be frank with you. I'm not anti-consolidation in the gaming space. I think there's a lot of evidence that consolidation works out great for consumers. However, you do still need to have multiple players. So I'm not one of those people that feels like, hey, we need to get down to where there's 2 people running the entire gaming industry. No, not by any means. But there's still a ton of people out here. I mean, Shinobi just made a list of like 20 studios that are like new studios. Y'all, we're nowhere near Monopoly. We're just not even close. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that this has worked out bad for me as a consumer at all. I think it's worked out fantastic. And in regards to specifically the shooter part, Tauncy K, the interesting thing here is this actually is a bigger issue even before acquisitions. We're seeing a scenario, and I talked about it earlier on like a couple chats ago. We're hitting a scenario where it's becoming very hard if you're a big online service game to pull people away from games they're already in love with. So your question specifically is about who's going to buy any other shooter if Call of Duty is on Game Pass. The problem is people aren't buying a lot of this stuff even without Game Pass. Right? We're seeing Vanguard sales be way down. Part of that is just not excitement over Vanguard, but it's also people continuing to play Fortnite, continuing to play Apex Legends. We saw Battlefield, which has basically completely bombed, right? It had an okay launch, but then it basically completely bombed after that. It's becoming very, very tricky to pull people away from these games they're already so invested in. So to piggyback off your question, I mean, Call of Duty going in Game Pass, I think, has little to no impact on someone not buying a shooter specifically because Call of Duty's in Game Pass. I would say the bigger industry issue that we're facing right now is as these big, giant service games get established, as long as they keep the quality up, how are you going to pull people away from them? That's the bigger issue, for sure. But thank you for that super chat. All right. Joseph Crank. Hi. EA said they will acquire studios and not being acquired. Yep, we were talking about that earlier. I think they're going to be the ones acquiring. Take-Two seems too successful and as well as acquiring things. I think Ubisoft and the Japanese pubs are the ones to be acquired. I agree. Who do you think will acquire Ubisoft, and who do you think will acquire one Japanese pub, Sony or Microsoft? I won't go on this for a long time. I've talked about it before. I think Microsoft will never be able to buy a Japanese publisher. I don't think that the government there is going to allow it. I think Microsoft has struggled to buy a studio in Japan, let alone a publisher. So a Japanese publisher, if one of them is going to get acquired, I'm pretty confident that's going to go to Sony. And that's an if. But I agree with you. EA and Take-Two are not going to be acquired. I've said that for reasons on this chat before. You can never say never. Look at Activision Blizzard. I think the odds are low, though, on either one of those being acquired. Ubisoft, though, out of the Western publishers, is the most ripe for acquisition because their recent release slate hasn't been that impressive, and their upcoming release slate also is not impressive. I think this is a company that's in a very dangerous scenario, and they could even go more down than they're at, to be honest with you. Ubisoft's on shaky ground. So Ubisoft, I would say, is the most of the Western pubs, and in terms of Japanese pubs, I don't see Microsoft getting any of them. But Sony, maybe. A lot of people right here are asking about, who would I buy, acquisitions. I think we kind of went into that. Out of the Western pubs, Ubisoft, and out of the Japanese publishers, I think Square Enix is the most ripe for acquisition. Capcom, to me, seems tough. So I'd say Square Enix or Sega out of the Japanese ones. Eber here with just a nice comment. Sup, Benji? Big fan. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, Eber. I'm doing great, to be honest. Really, really good. So thank you so much. Miles, do you think PlayStation will respond to the Activision and Bethesda acquisition anytime soon? Or do you think they will focus on what they have and continue to grow internally? I think most of these acquisitions from Sony already are a response, and let's be clear here about this. So a lot of people you saw be like, Bungie was in, that was a desperation move because of Activision Blizzard. By no means is that true, because there's no way that Sony would have finalized the deal that quickly, right? However, I've talked about this before. Microsoft's acquisition spree, I think there's almost no doubt, has spurred the overall industry acquisition spree. When you look at how many studios they acquired, now multiple publishers, if you're in this space, you kind of have to respond, right? You don't want to risk them buying everyone up. So has Sony already responded to the overall umbrella of Microsoft's acquisitions? Yeah, I think we're already there. I'm not going to say they would have never bought Housemarque, or they would have never bought Insomniac, or they would have never bought Bluepoint. All of these might have happened. I just think that the spending spree in the industry that was kicked off by Microsoft also gave them a very good incentive to also doing that themselves. So if you're talking specifically, though, I think the spirit of your question is are they going to get a publisher, right? Because Microsoft's gotten two publishers now, Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. I've said this before. I think the only publisher that Sony would buy would be Square Enix. Outside of that, I don't see EA or Take-Two on the board for them at all. I guess Ubisoft would be a possibility, maybe. If they do, I think it's going to be Square Enix. And I don't even rate that as high. But if they buy any publisher, if someone came from the future and they said, Benji, Sony bought a publisher, guess who it is? I'd say Square Enix. But I think they'll actually probably just buy more studios, would be my guess. But you never know. A lot of people asking about acquisitions. I think I kind of am going over the bulk of my thoughts on that. Eber's asking, what studios specifically do I think? I've said Ember Lab. I think Ember Lab will be acquired by Sony. I think that's pretty high odds. I can tell you that PlayStation themselves saw Kena as a huge success internally. So Ember Lab, I think, unless they don't want to sell. But if Ember Lab wants to sell, I think Ember Lab is probably next. Probably. Joseki, Benji, what's up? I'm just here to ask your impressions of Legends Arceus. I've read the tweet. And if you have played the Nintendo DS games, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, as I still rate them higher than Arceus. I've not played Platinum or Soul Silver. So right now, Pokemon Legends Arceus is my favorite Pokemon game of all time. The Pokemon games that I've played, I mean, obviously Red, Blue, Yellow, Black and White 2, Gold and Silver, X and Y, Sword and Shield. I mean, pretty much all of them. There was just a couple ones that I skipped. But Arceus is my favorite, mostly because they really evolved the formula. Don't get me wrong, I like traditional Pokemon. Those games were starting to feel, though, like they were all blending together. Like it had been just the exact same formula for so many years that Arceus just, to me, feels like a breath of fresh air. I love it. I literally love it. It's my favorite Pokemon game ever. So I've put about 20 hours into it now. Love it. Literally love it, love it, love it. It's one of my favorite Switch games ever. I don't know if it's number one. My number one Switch game is Fire Emblem Three Houses, but it's up there. It's one of my favorite Switch games ever. Batman Forever. PlayStation has the PS Now revamped codename Project Spartacus and many, many unannounced first-party games. When do you think they will break their silence and make a big event focused on those? Soon, Batman Forever. I think you're going to get a big state of play soon. My guess, after Horizon and after Gran Turismo. So probably in March. Yeah. Probably in March. If I had to make a prediction, March will be when there's the next big state of play. And I think it will be big. Because here's the thing, Batman. After Gran Turismo, we have no announced dates for anything for PlayStation. Nothing, right? Out of their first party, right? We still have like Forspoken on the way, which is a PlayStation exclusive, but that's a Square Enix game. Like, once Gran Turismo's out, because God of War has no date, you know, Wolverine has no date, Spider-Man 2 has no date, and a ton of their studios don't even have games announced. So they're going to have to say something, right? You can't just have literally nothing on the calendar. You have to have games out there. So March. My guess is going to be Batman Forever March, a beefy state of play. I think so. That makes the most sense, right? Get all the marketing focus right now on Horizon and Gran Turismo, and then boom, in March, here is what is next. Here's your God of War date, and we're going to announce some games. So that would be my guess. Joseki says that hype for the Direct later. I've read rumors of Persona 4 Golden, Fire Emblem, and Xenoblade announcements. Those would all be hype. Yes, I agree. And I'm super hyped. I love my JRPGs. A possible Dragon Quest III Remake 2 could be massive. Just like, yeah, I agree. I mean, if those three got announced, I would literally buy all three. So, yeah, that would be super hype. I think we got a super chat. Let me hit that super chat. How long have we been going? Oh, we still got time. We still got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. My 10-year daughter has taken over my Switch. She is playing Animal Crossing, LOL, and Harry Potter. I have not been able to play Metroid. Well, Highlander, thank you again. I think that's like your third super chat. That's very generous of you. And yeah, I'll tell you what, last year I really neglected my Switch. Didn't play it much. There wasn't much that was coming out that to me was exciting. But I really got back into it with Metroid Dread. It's amazing, Highlander. I know you said you haven't been able to play Dread yet, but if you get a chance, I mean, I thought it was amazing. Loved that game. And then right after Dread, I picked up Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which was a really good remake. I was enjoying that. And now Arceus, which I'm absolutely loving. And Kirby's right around the corner too. So I'm actually quite a bit back into my Switch again, you know? So I can totally understand, though, your daughter taking it over. That's the amazing thing about Nintendo, right? They offer a ton of content for all age groups. So, yeah, I'm not surprised, though, that she's super into Animal Crossing. And thank you for that super chat. But if you get a chance to play, there's some good stuff releasing on Switch right now. Really good. All right. Back to your free questions. Yoda Soda is asking if I think that the 10 live service games will have a shift away from the single player games for PlayStation. No. I think they're going to go hand in hand. I think they're just going to do both. Personally, that's what I think. Ghost Tunnels, Benji Boy, do you think we should worry about the future of single-player games? Many developers like Platinum Games have come out and said one-and-done games aren't sustainable. Could the industry shift? Well, to be honest with you, back to what we were talking about with acquisitions, this is one area where being acquired kind of helps, right? Here's the thing. If you are a third-party developer or a third-party publisher, there is a reason why you see so much focus on these multiplayer games, right? And people being like, single player, it's hard to sustain and stuff. Are there giant success stories of single player only games? Oh, yeah. I mean, just look at, we're just talking third party, not first party games. Just look at how successful Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was. I mean, that game was gigantic. Single player only, no microtransactions, no multiplayer. Look at, well, I can't even say stuff like Dark Souls because it has multiplayer. It's not the main element, but it does have it. But yeah, like let's say a one and done 10-hour or 12-hour game, are those like statistically going to be your best odds of making a lot of money in the gaming industry? No. It pains me to say because I love single player games. But the odds, if you're just rolling the dice, having some sort of service or online component just does raise those odds. It just makes the odds better that you're going to find some sort of success, right? Doesn't need to be the only focus. I want to be very clear about that. It doesn't have to be only multiplayer game, but having no multiplayer, no at all, no live service, no expansions and DLCs, pretty risky game to be in. The thing that is honestly a good part, if you want to look at, with the positives of acquisitions, is that it gives you a lot more freedom, right? If you're owned by someone like Microsoft, that is a trillion-dollar company that has a lot of things they factor into the success of their gaming division, not just how many microtransactions you're selling, but also, hey, are you bringing people to Game Pass? Are people engaging with your content with Game Pass? Or Sony, their big single-player games, are these selling consoles? Like, I will tell you that being a first-party studio gives you way more better odds and incentives of being single-player narrative-focused only. Way better, just because you have a whole ecosystem built around you. For third-party games, it is tougher. I'm always going to root for single-player. I always think that they should come out, and they're important in the industry. You even saw Strauss Zelnick from Take-Two said, we will always believe in single-player. That's great to hear. But I also see why many studios and developers are like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. If you are a single player only game, you need to be really impressive. That's my thing. You need to be impressive for sure. Homishley Ford, Dying Light 2 sales look good or no? Not only does Dying Light 2 sales look good, they look freaking mind-blowing, okay? This game sold millions of units in its launch week. Millions with a plural, put an S on it. Millions of units in its launch week. Unbelievable performance. Yeah, just wait. They're going to give you PR. Trust me. You're going to get Dying Light 2 PR. If I had to guess an exact number of units, I'm going to say 3 to 5 million in its first week. Not joking. 3 to 5 million units in its first week, probably for Dying Light 2. Its PC performance is outstanding. Hit over 200,000 concurrent players, biggest zombie-related launch ever on Steam, and it did like 6 times higher than the highest peak concurrent players of Dying Light 1. Dying Light 2 has been an enormous success, no doubt. Like I said, don't be surprised. 3 to 5 million units in its first week, probably, which is great. 3 to 5 million units in a week is outstanding. Split N89, Benji, what is up, Split N89, bud? Best mod in the business, good friend of mine, and always helping out with the channel. Do you think Spartacus gets Destiny 2, its expansions, and Day 1 expansions? Also, how hyped are you for Horizon next week? This is a great question. It's tough to know, Split End, because we really don't know how ambitious Sony's going with Spartacus. This, to me, in the entire industry, is one of the biggest questions. What exactly is the plans for Spartacus? We know from some leaks a big element of this is apparently going to be backwards compatibility, rumored to have PS1, 2, 3, 4, like all of it backwards compatible. It sounds like that might not all be native, right? Some of it might be streaming depending on the platform. But the rumor is like full backwards compatibility of some kind. I'm going to be honest, Split End. That alone is not enough to get them to the kinds of subscribers that they need for PlayStation Now. So, or Spartacus, right? The new rebranding of it. So one thing we know is that PlayStation Now has existed before Game Pass, and yet it has not even a fraction of the subscribers Game Pass has. Very clear why. Game Pass is getting first-party Xbox games day one, and it's also getting tons of huge third-party games. And PS Now has definitely stepped up its offerings, but it still isn't quite at the level that Game Pass is. So they need a big hook, and backwards compatibility by itself is not going to do it. They need something else. So could the Destiny 2 expansions be that? Possible. I think they need something day one on this service. I don't know what, right? I'm not sure that you're going to see God of War's launch in day one, or Horizon, obviously not Forbidden West, but whatever's next. Day one on everything like Xbox. I would love it, but I don't know that they're going to do that. But they do need something day one, whether that's Destiny expansions or maybe some of their smaller games like from Pixel Opus or maybe like their multiplayer games. They need something. So I think it'd be smart, and they need something to drive those subscribers for sure. It can't just be, here's PlayStation Now, but with backwards compatibility. Like, that will not be enough. There needs to be more. And then my hype for Horizon next week, it's a literal 10 out of 10. Like, literally 10 out of 10. Zero Dawn was, like, one of my favorite IPs last generation. Loved it. And I think Forbidden West looks incredible. So 10 out of 10 hype. Joe says, man, the PS4 not reaching 120 million is going to break my OCD. Yeah, I know. It seemed like a lock, and then the pandemic happened, and it basically killed the PlayStation 4. We found out they're going to still ship a couple million more, but it's not enough to get them to 120 million. I know, it is annoying, and the PlayStation 4 was deadlocked to do it, but the pandemic basically killed it. So it is annoying, Joe. I agree, it's annoying, but, I mean, it still sold a lot, right? Kellegrim, got to get those gains, LOL. Yeah, I'm back to lifting. I've been good about it. I started again on January 1st, and I've been sticking with it very, very good. I had a week where I had COVID, so I obviously wasn't doing any lifting during COVID, but I'm back at it. So, still a long way to go, but I have already, gotten some very noticeable gains from where I was. I mean, I was like anorexically skinny. Like, literally, I was like 145 pounds, 5'10". So, I mean, I was pretty darn thin. DB will rise. What's up, Benji? Just want to say that Respawn is an S-tier studio. They are. I agree. S-tier. They're one of the very few studios that always deliver quality content. Also, Titanfall / Apex series is the best FPS of all time. I mean, DB Wise, I basically agree with everything you're saying, except Titanfall and Apex aren't my personal number one, but I also think that putting them at number one is not wrong at all. Like, those are good enough games that someone could say that's my favorite first-person shooter franchise ever, and I'd be like, yeah, dude, totally understandable. And yeah, they are S tier. Respawn's one of the best studios in the business. There's just no debate. Respawn's literally one of the best teams in the world. JCat, what's up? What is up, JCat in chat? Thanks for helping mod. Dupla, do you think Take-Two will be acquired? No. Nope, not at all. Great question here from Venom Harness. Do you think Spyro and Crash will remain multi-platform? I actually don't. I think Crash and Spyro might be Xbox exclusives. One thing you're seeing people run around with this statement, I've seen a couple people tweet about it. They've been saying, Everything, Activision Blizzard across the board, they're remaining multi-platform with this statement. That is not what Microsoft said. So to be clear, what's the wording? Let's look at this wording again. They said Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation. That leaves a lot of room for interpretation on what you consider popular franchises. If you're asking me what I personally think, I think Call of Duty remains fully multi-platform. I think Overwatch 2 remains fully multi-platform. And I think Diablo remains fully multi-platform. I actually think pretty much everything else other than that, probably exclusive. Probably Xbox and PC. Because those are the most popular franchises, right? Crash is big, no doubt. Spyro is way smaller than Crash, but still pretty big. But Microsoft could easily make those exclusive and not really come across as that antitrust because, yeah, maybe they sell a few million units, but they're not like the big dogs, right? We're not talking about Diablo and Overwatch, which are tens of millions of units sold, like tens and tens. I mean, Overwatch had over 50 million players in like its first like 2 years. I know it's fallen off hard, but people forget how giant Overwatch was. And we know Diablo is just enormous in Call of Duty. So that's my guess. I think that they're basically saying Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, that's going to remain everywhere. But some of these smaller franchises, they don't say everything. So we'll have to see. Could they still go multi-platform? Definitely in the cards, but it's not a lock. They didn't say every game is going to remain multi-platform. So we'll have to see. Telegram, we kind of went over this. I'm curious what the difference is between Call of Duty staying multi-plat while they're saying Starfield is going to be exclusive. Different orders of magnitude. People seriously forget how big Call of Duty is. I mean, they bought Bethesda for $7.5 billion. Activision cost them $70 billion. 10 times what Bethesda cost them. And a huge element of that is Call of Duty. It's not the only, right? Blizzard still generates a lot of money. King generates a lot of money. But, I mean, Call of Duty by itself, let's say if they just bought Call of Duty, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was $40 billion. Seriously. I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty by itself, nothing else with it, was $30-40 billion in valuation. Like, I mean, Call of Duty is a whole nother level. We all here love Elder Scrolls games, right? We love stuff like Starfield. We love these RPGs, but like Call of Duty is a behemoth compared to those. So it's a big difference. Whoa, Hamish, Apex had 400,000 concurrent players today. That's incredible. I think that's a new peak for it, right? I'm pretty sure, wasn't it 330,000 before today? That's amazing. I actually didn't even realize that. That's incredible, Hamish. Amos, how does Game Pass reach 50 million or 100 million subscriber targets without killer exclusive IPs? Things like Disney Plus have Star Wars, etc. that drive a lot of growth. And they do have killer IPs, though. Like, Call of Duty is still going to be on Game Pass. That's going to get them millions of subscribers. I mean, Forza Horizon and Halo are already huge IPs. Starfield's going to be a huge IP. Elder Scrolls is going to be a huge IP. Like, I would almost bet my life they'll hit 50 million subscribers. I'm like that confident in it. They're already halfway there, and most of their first-party studios haven't even really been releasing games yet, right? We know how dry, the last few years were for Xbox, really up until like the second half of last year. I mean, 50 million subs, they'll be there. I think they'll hit 50 million probably in the next 2 to 3 years. 100 million, though, will be harder, but they already have giant IP. Like, trust me, they'll hit 50 mil. Like, that ain't going to be an issue at all. RRD, Benji, what kind of perks do you think Xbox gamers would get for Call of Duty? Early access, just campaign modes, more DLC, exclusive skins. Yeah, they'll probably do some exclusive stuff. Keep in mind, Game Pass has Game Pass rewards. Like, if you play Halo Infinite every month, you get free drops if you're a Game Pass subscriber, where it's like weapon skins and things like that. They'll do stuff. Yeah, definitely. I don't even think campaign mode is going to be exclusive. I mean, I truly think after the statement, it's pretty freaking definitive. I think Call of Duty literally stays the exact same as it is right now. Campaign, multiplayer, everything on everything. Um, but yeah, like some exclusive stuff. My guess would be, yeah, like you say at the end there, more DLC, exclusive skins, Game Pass, like getting it day one, that type of stuff. So yeah, I could definitely see that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know that they would keep like maps away. That would be pretty egregious. Not impossible, but it'd be pretty egregious. But probably like cosmetic stuff. Yeah, probably cosmetic stuff. Plus the day one Game Pass. Yeah, Split End says, wouldn't be surprised if it's similar to what PlayStation gets now. Extra loadout, slots, XP boost, that kind of stuff. Exactly. Yep. King Lizards, is it possible that when Activision is fully owned by Xbox, they will change their stance on multi platform titles, or is this definitive? I think on Call of Duty specifically, it's definitive. Other franchises we'll have to see, but I mean, this is a pretty. If you read that statement, it's you can't really read it any other way. Call of Duty specifically, that's staying multi-plat. Carmelo, do you think Microsoft knows about a Sony acquisition upcoming, or do you think this was more of an FTC pressuring them? I think it's pressure from regulators to make the statement like this. Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think it has anything to do with Sony and acquisitions. I think that they're feeling the heat from regulators. Can be. January NPD predictions. Will Switch take both units in revenue? Will Arceus be number one game? Switch will be number one in units. Revenue will be interesting. Right now, if I had to predict for you rankings, Switch number one in units, Xbox Series number two, and then PlayStation 5 number three, which would be interesting because that would be 3 months in a row that PlayStation 5 was the lowest selling console in the US. But the main factor here, as we know, is shortages. I do think Xbox and PlayStation in units will be fairly close, though, so that really could flip either way. But if I had to predict, Switch, Xbox Series, PlayStation 5. In revenue, though, I'm pretty confident PlayStation 5 at the very least will have higher revenue than Xbox, because Xbox right now is primarily selling Series S's, which are $100 to $200 cheaper than PS5s. So yeah, Switch number one in revenue, I'm not sure, maybe, but definitely number one in units. And Arceus will be the number one game, yeah. Even with only 2 days, I think it's 2 days tracked in January, it'll still be enough. Yeah, it'll be number one game. Yep. Rodrigo, Sony buying Konami and giving Kojima their IPs would be pretty cool. I talked about this, I think, on the last chat. Konami is maybe the most unappealing acquisition in the industry right now. You get almost nothing from them but some small IP. And honestly, y'all, in the grand scheme of things, they are small IP. Metal Gear Solid's the only one there that's like super valuable. And Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess. But do they own Yu-Gi-Oh? Or is it licensed? That I'm not 100% sure. But out of the ones they own, the only one there that's worth a lot of money is Metal Gear Solid. Other stuff is cool, like Silent Hill is pretty cool, but it's very small in the grand scheme of things. Castlevania is cool, but it's really small in the grand scheme of things. So it's like you wouldn't be getting that valuable of IP, like some cool IP, but not super valuable. And also, if you acquire Konami, you get like no workforce out of it. Like you're not getting tons of studios and tons of devs and like all of this manpower and talent. Like, you know, Konami does very little development nowadays internally. There's still some, but it's like very small scale, and a lot of their IPs aren't super valuable. So I said this the last chat, I totally could see licensing them. Like that would be a good deal if Sony was like, hey, Konami will pay you X amount of dollars to license your IPs to our studios. I think that would be cool. But buying Konami, I don't know why anyone would buy Konami. That's not an attractive buy. Put it this way, you only buy Konami if you get them super cheap. Like, cheap. Like, if you could get them for an ultra low price, then it's probably worth it. Otherwise, I would just try and license their games. Kellegrim, I love you, buddy. If you want Starfield that bad, just buy an Xbox. And I know that's an easy thing to say. Just buy an Xbox when they're not cheap, right? It costs hundreds of dollars. But, like, people would say the same thing about God of War, right, to an Xbox users. If you want to play God of War, buy a PlayStation. Like, at the end of the day, unless you have a gaming PC and you really want to play Starfield, I mean, you're going to have to buy an Xbox, man. Just like I had to buy a PlayStation to play Horizon and God of War and all that. You know, it comes with the territory. KY Han, I'm maintaining that the real value of these acquisitions isn't IP, it's the manpower. It's the talent and production pipelines. Those are harder to create than IP. I think it's both. But definitely, yeah, you can't undervalue that. I mean, you can't undervalue. I mean, they're getting literally thousands of developers by acquiring Activision Blizzard. Yeah, you can't, like you said, like those are hard to create, right? To have those giant studios. So I agree. K1, it's an element of both. Those IP are super valuable, but also the workforce, no doubt about it. Lynn, Benji, I'm hearing amazing things about Horizon 90 plus meta. Here's all I can say. All I can say. Zero details. I know multiple. When I say multiple, I know multiple people reviewing these games. I ain't saying anything to break NDA. All I'm saying is, Lynn, I'm hearing very good things. I think Horizon Forbidden West will be 90 plus Metacritic. Yes. Yep. I know multiple people reviewing it. And, it is sounding good, like you're saying, Lynn. I'm expecting 90 plus Metacritic for Horizon Forbidden West. Yes. Saad Khan. Isn't Gran Turismo 7 one of those 10 live service games? That's a great point, Saad. Actually, they could be including that. Yeah. It could be. I don't know for a fact that that's one of those 10 games, but it actually could be. Yeah, because, I mean, it's going to have online components and stuff. So it could be. Yeah, they didn't name any of those titles, but Saad, that is a great point. Gran Turismo 7 might be one of those 10 that they're talking about. It's very possible. All right, I'm going to go for 13 more minutes, and I'm going to call the chat. 13 more minutes. Sounds PP7. Benji still hyped about Crysis 4. When should we realistically expect to see anything major from it? And what should Crytek do to make it fit in today's market of FPS games? Yeah, Sounds PP7, I'm hyped for this too. I really like the Crysis franchise. When can we see something like substantial from it? I think we might not see anything big from Crysis 4 until next year. Just because the way they announced it was so nebulous, right? It was really just like it wasn't even like a CG trailer how we normally think of it, where it shows you like a whole bunch of stuff. It was like more of a concept type CG thing. So this tells me it's an early production. I think Crytek themselves said it's early production. So I don't think you'll see anything more from Crysis 4 until next year, like a big reveal of what it looks like. In terms of what they should do to make it fit in today's market, I think kind of like what Crysis 1 did, where it's pretty open, a pretty big open game, not too linear, and keep in mind, y'all, that is the DNA of Crysis. So it's not one of those things like, oh man, why does everything got to go open world and big and like, expansive? Why can't we get linear games like Uncharted and stuff? Keep in mind, the DNA of Crysis has always been big, huge environments and, semi-open. So I think they should just do that. Make Crysis a big open game, maybe not fully open world, but that kind of stuff. And I think it would fit in well because there's not a ton of shooters that do that. We've got Far Cry 6 that has that, and Halo Infinite pivoted towards that. But, there's not a ton of them like that. So that would be the way to do it. Danger Man says that they don't think that Breath of the Wild sequel will be shown today at the Direct. It's not a lock. Yeah, it's not a lock. I hope they do, just because we still know so little about this game. We literally don't even know its title. So I hope they show it. The main thing I think, Danger Man, is I think there's very little chance we get a date. If they do show it, I think it'll just be a reveal of, some more of the story and here's what it's actually called. But, yeah, I think a date is pretty unlikely. Space Novakin says, Pokemon Legends Arceus 2. Little early for that, but there's no doubt they're going to make another Pokemon Legends game. It's the biggest launch of any Switch Pokemon. That's right. Bigger than Sword and Shield. So you're definitely going to get more Pokemon Legends games. Zero doubt. Zero question about that. Jack Gamer, what Metacritic do you think for Horizon Forbidden West? I'm thinking 90 plus. If I had to make an exact guess, 92 to 93 would be my guess. 92. I mean, I think he's going to review really high. That's all I'll say. Telegram, I wonder if they will ever put microtransactions in Mario Kart. Ooh, it's a great question. Nintendo hasn't seemed huge on microtransactions. However, one of the biggest missed opportunities for Nintendo, I would say, is that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did not get big DLC on the Switch. That is a shocking choice from Nintendo for me. We know that Mario Kart 8 originally got DLC like on the Wii U, but you're talking about a game that sold over 43 million units, and it really doesn't have big DLCs for it. That is a huge missed opportunity for Nintendo. I'm not exaggerating when I say they've left millions of dollars on the table by doing that. In fact, they've probably left tens and tens of millions of dollars of units of revenue on the table not making DLC for that game. Very weird choice to me. I'm not sure the explanation from Nintendo for that, unless, it's just the focus has been on Mario Kart 9. But the next Mario Kart does need to have substantial DLC. I don't know if they need to do microtransactions, but kind of like what they did with Mario Kart 8 originally, but even more so, new track packs, new packs of new characters like they did. You're literally leaving millions of dollars on the table. So they do need to at least have more substantial DLC next time from Mario Kart, but they don't necessarily have to do microtransactions. Cade says, I don't think Capcom will sell. It's a family business, and in Japan, that is something that you keep as long as you can. Cade, I agree. Capcom, to me, doesn't seem very likely to sell. Partially for the reason that you said, and also partially because I think the upside on Capcom right now is so high. I mean, they're on an amazing run, and they have a really impressive release slate coming up. So Capcom, to me, you look at almost all the publishers in the industry, they just seem like the one that would be like, nope, we're not going to sell because we have an amazing trajectory right now. So I agree. Kate, I think it's pretty darn unlikely. Pretty darn unlikely. Mr. M, Nintendo says the Switch is halfway through its run. That means there's at least another 5 years in the Switch. Yeah, but keep in mind that doesn't mean that it's halfway through its run in terms of... there's not going to be another Switch for 5 years, because there's definitely going to be another Switch before then. It just means they're going to support it still for potentially another 4 to 5 years, which would make sense. If you put Switch in, 2023, late 2023, that would give them, that's 2 years from whenever they would say that, and then still supporting it for another 2 years or so past that, that wouldn't be surprising to me at all. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Late 2023 or early 2024 is going to be when Switch 2 launches. It's going to be one of those. All right, we're almost done. We're going to go for like 7 minutes and I'm out. Tom Henderson doesn't think a 2022 reveal is on the cards for GTA. No offense to Tom Henderson. I do think he knows a lot. I follow him on Twitter. He also, though, is sometimes wrong on things that he says, which is all of us, right? I'm wrong on things I say sometimes, too. So, to be honest, Tom Henderson saying that doesn't really mean much to me. And this isn't a knock on Tom Henderson. I literally follow him on Twitter. I think he does get a lot of legit info. But Tom Henderson saying no GTA 6 reveal in 2022 doesn't mean much to me, to be honest with you. I trust Jason Schreier way more than Tom Henderson. And it's not, again, this isn't a diss on Tom Henderson. I'm just saying Jason Schreier said that he thinks there is a chance it's a 2022 reveal, and I'm going to trust Jason a lot more of the two. But Tom is still, he's good at what he does. It's not a diss on Tom. Benji says, do you think Gran Turismo could reclaim the title of most popular Sony franchise with Gran Turismo 7? I haven't seen such excitement in years. Benji, I don't quite think so. To be honest, between Horizon Forbidden West and Gran Turismo 7, I think Horizon's going to be a lot bigger. So I don't think it's going to become the most popular Sony IP again. But what I do think, Benji, which I agree with you with, I haven't seen this excitement for Gran Turismo in a very long time. So this is going to crush GT6 and GT Sport in sales. I'm basically 100% confident in that. It's going to blow the last two Gran Turismo games out of the water. So it might not take Gran Turismo back to being the biggest PlayStation franchise, but it's definitely going to revitalize Gran Turismo in a big way. Because I haven't seen this type of hype for Gran Turismo in a long time. Many, many years. Even me, I was going to buy it because I buy most of the first party games in general. But I wasn't that excited for Gran Turismo 7. I was interested in it, but I would say I was not excited. But the last state of play, that made me excited. It looked great. So yeah, definitely it's going to, at the very least, it's going to really revitalize the franchise. Just a few more questions. GOAT status, does this hurt Sony's chance at a publisher, considering that Sony is the leader in the market? No. No, I don't think so. But again, like I said, I just don't see Sony buying someone like EA or Take-Two or anything like that. So if Sony buys anyone, I would say Square Enix or Ubisoft. And I don't think actually that regulators would try and block either one of those because those are still much smaller scale than Activision Blizzard. That's the thing people really need to keep in mind. We're talking about a $70 billion purchase. You could get Ubisoft and Square Enix for way less than that, combined, right? You buy Square Enix and you buy Ubisoft, and you're probably not even halfway yet to what Activision Blizzard was in terms of revenue and cost. So, no, they can still get a publisher. Ryan Thompson, do you think Scalebound should return? If anyone missed it, I cannot remember his name. From Platinum Games said that he wants to still do Scalebound, and he said, Phil Spencer, let me know. Ryan, I actually think it'd be cool. I think it would be cool to see Scalebound come back, but I think it won't. No, I don't think it will. I don't think so. But, I mean, I'd be for it. If they announced, hey, Scalebound's coming back, I think it would be actually a pretty cool announcement. I'm just not expecting it. I'm surprised. I thought my spicy take earlier about consolidation in entertainment specifically, I thought people would be mad. A lot of people kind of agreed with me. Danger Man, Disney Plus UK has amazing since it basically has a lot of Fox/Hulu content. Goat says, is it weird to hear people say Monopoly while tweeting about Marvel and Boba Fett on their Disney Plus sub? Exactly. So to be clear, I'm not in favor at all of monopolies, but consolidation to a degree, not to where everyone's gone, but some consolidation. People panic about it, but there's actually a lot of evidence that it is good if you're a consumer. Again, on a consumer's basis, and this is, of course, assuming that there are other players in the space. I'm just talking about some consolidation actually a lot of times benefits the consumer. And yeah, I'm surprised to see a lot. I mean, a lot of people were agreeing with it. Ooh, great question here from Ulfric. Great question. What's your opinion on Halo Infinite, and do you think it will ever retain the growth that it had when it came out? Yeah, so couple things to keep in mind. Halo Infinite is slipping, particularly on Steam. On Xbox, it's actually still very high. I saw Paul Tassi wrote an article about how it went from number 5 to 6 on the most played list. And I really like Paul. He's like so nice to me, and he's great at his work. But I mean, to still be number 6, that still means you're one of the most popular games on Xbox. But Steam in particular has really dropped down. Couple things to keep in mind though in regards to that. Honestly, the biggest thing that's hurting Halo right now more than anything is this extremely long first season. If you guys remember, I was saying, don't be surprised if you see this dip down, in like the early parts of the year, down to like 20 or 30,000 players peak on Steam. Let's check. Where's it at? Because I bet you it's in that range. What I was saying a few weeks ago, I was saying that the first part of the year it's going to really drop, because there's just no new content. I'm going to guess 20 to 30,000 for its daily peak. Yep, 24-hour peak, 20,396. I don't think that's surprising. I mean, most games, you're talking about a season lasts maybe 3 months. We're already past that. That game came out in November for multiplayer. So November, December, January, we're now into early February, and we still are on season 1. Here's the thing. Ulfric, put it this way, whatever hit the numbers it was doing at launch, particularly on Steam, where it hit, almost 300,000 concurrent players. Ulfric, I don't think it can ever get that high again unless they release like a Battle Royale mode. However, can it go quite a bit higher than it is right now? It can, but Season 2 needs to be really good. Like, nowadays, you can't have a service game come out and you just go months and months and months without content. Like, I know they're doing these small little events, but they're not like substantial big content, right? We're not talking here's season 2 and here's new maps and here's like big new modes. And I mean, they really got to step it up with season 2. Season 2 needs to be really impressive, but put it this way, they're going to be in dire straits for the next several months, because I think season 2 starts in May. So it's going to stay low for, the next few months. Season 2 though really needs to come out with a bang. Space. Benji, tomorrow we have NPD numbers, right? No, I think Friday. I think Friday's NPD. All right, I think I basically got to go. I'm going to make sure. I think we had maybe a super chat. All right, let me hit this super chat and then like 1 or 2 more free questions and I'm out. Split-End89 with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Split-End. Thanks, buddy. With precedent set, does PlayStation grab Remedy for multiplayer? Split-End, I think that Remedy was a prime acquisition for Sony, except now they aren't. And let me explain that. So Remedy right now has multiple long-term contracts with other publishers. So Remedy has, we already know that 505 Games is going to be publishing the Control multiplayer game they're working on. We also know that 505 Games is publishing the Control sequel. That game is years out into the future. And then also we know that Epic Games is publishing Alan Wake 2. And that game is also, it's what? Did they announce that for 2023, I think? So that even is like 2 years away. So, dude, if you would have asked me before they signed all these contracts, should Sony buy Remedy? I would have said, yeah, they're like a great option. Right now, I'd say no, because Sony themselves actually wouldn't be able to publish any of their own games for years. We're talking it could be up to like 4+ years before Sony themselves would get to be the publisher of these games, unless they bought the contracts out from Epic and 505. So Split End, I'm going to actually say no, just because Remedy is contracted to so many people right now. Once those deals end, maybe they become more attractive again. But for now, I would actually hold off on Remedy, just because you wouldn't get the main benefits out of them for years. So, yeah, that's my thought there. All right, 1 or 2 more and I'm gone. 1 or 2 more and I'm gone. I just got to blast out 1 or 2 more and I got to go. Randy Norman, Xbox needs to improve its marketing. Out of the big three, Xbox has the worst marketing. Halo marketing was terrible, and we still have no idea what Redfall is. How are they still so bad at marketing, Benji? I actually kind of think Sony has the worst marketing, to be honest. Sony does really good marketing at their events. But to be honest with you, Xbox, I think, is doing a better job of constantly having headlines. So they're different types of marketing. Sony is way ahead of Microsoft when it comes to like their big states of plays, and especially I would say outside of the United States. So this is something that also feels super different if you're out of the US. If you're in the US, you get Xbox marketing like crazy. So I don't know. I don't think Xbox marketing is actually all that bad, except for a few key things. I think the main issue with Xbox is that they are doing too few of shows that are good, right? E3 is awesome, but there's like one E3 a year. They need to be having more presentations of high quality content. Sony's doing, multiple states of plays, which have been really good, right? Like the Gran Turismo State of Play, awesome. They did a Horizon Forbidden West State of Play, awesome. Their E3 type showcases are awesome. Xbox is doing a steady, good job of constantly being like, yo, here's Game Pass, and here's like your new Game Pass games, and like, here's our big E3 show. But I do agree they need to step it up between then. Like how Sony's doing states of plays for their games, or like how Nintendo's having Nintendo Directs. So, yeah, not perfect, but I don't think their marketing is terrible. Randy, I definitely disagree with that. And then Pio here. I'll end it with Pio. Pio, my man, what is up, buddy? Do your updated predictions for top 5 sales of NPD 2022. Well, this is going to be a freaking landmine because 2022 is pure chaos. So don't take it all what these February predictions will be. So my top 5 for NPD in sales. Oh, man. Jesus, dude, this is so hard. Number 1. Jesus. Here's the thing. Some people are going to say Pokemon Legends Arceus because it had such an enormous launch. 6.5 million units, right, in its first few days. There are a couple things to keep in mind. The first couple days are not included in February NPD. They're going to be in January. Now, this is going to sell a ton of units past its first couple days. But we also know that the first 2 to 3 days is a massive chunk of launch sales. So keep in mind, that won't be in February. And also the other key factor to keep in mind for Pokemon Legends Arceus is no digitals included in NPD. Nintendo does not give NPD their digital data. So that means you're missing a solid 20 to 30%. They don't have as high of a digital percentage as like Xbox and PlayStation. So you're going to go lower, but you're still talking 20 to 30% of its units isn't going to be included in NPD rankings. So I actually, despite seriously incredible numbers, I actually still don't think Pokemon Legends Arceus is number 1 in NPD. If those first 2 days were included in NPD and you included digital, I think there's a very good chance Pokemon takes number 1. But since its first few days of launch are in January, and you're not going to get digital in its rankings, it could still hit number 1, but I actually think it's kind of unlikely because games like Dying Light, Horizon, and Elden Ring will have full digital data on them. So that makes it a bit of a steeper hill to climb for Pokemon. Also, Pokemon is selling at 60, while Horizon's going to be selling at 70 or even higher for the collector's editions. And NPD is a revenue-based chart. Man, this is freaking hard. Total guess here, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be wrong. Like, I'm literally telling you this will be wrong because February's top 5 is too hard to predict. I'm going to go number 1 is actually going to be Horizon. Spicy take, but I'm expecting this to do over 1 million in its first NPD. I'm expecting this to do over 3 million in its first 3 days on sale. It's going to have all digital data included, and it's selling at a high price point, $70, for the PS5 edition, or higher, up to almost $300 for the collector's editions. So I'm going to go Horizon Forbidden West number 1. Again, y'all, I'm telling you I'm going to be wrong on this, like the overall top 5. Number 2, I'm going to go Elden Ring. It's going to do ridiculous numbers on PC. Over 300,000 concurrent players is my current prediction. And then the question after that is it going to be Pokemon, or is it going to be Dying Light? Because Dying Light is selling so much on PC. Ugh. Oh, man. Number 3, I'll go Pokemon. Number 4, I'll go Dying Light. God, I'm not confident in any of this. And number 5, I don't know. What's another new release? Is there another new release? A big one? It's not going to be like Sifu. Does Lost Ark get included? I don't know if Lost Ark will get included in NPD. I don't know how that works. I don't know. I'm assuming Lost Ark's not going to be included. So I'm not going to say that. Am I forgetting something, y'all? Am I forgetting something? Yeah, I'm just going to give you top 4. So that's how I'm going to rank them. It's not going to be right because these games are all so huge and there's so many factors into it. But there's my top 4 for February. I'm going to say Horizon, Elden Ring, Pokemon, Dying Light 2. But you could literally mix and match those 4 almost however you want, like just about. I don't think Dying Light 2 can take number 1, but I actually think any of those other 3 have a shot at number 1. I really think Horizon, Elden Ring, or Pokemon, any of those could take the top spot. Like, it could go anywhere. So, all right, there you go, guys. I got to go. Thanks for an awesome chat. Thanks for a great chat. Thanks for a great turnout. Thank you all for being so supportive. It's been crazy on Twitter. I had a total freak out nerd moment. Neil Druckmann followed me and I lost my freaking mind from Naughty Dog. Literally lost it. Not many people when I get a follow notification, because I've had some big people follow me and it's super cool. But I'm not going to lie, y'all. I had a total nerd out moment when Neil followed me. I literally lost my mind. So the support continues to be unbelievable. Thank you all for all being so awesome. Like the video if you haven't already. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps people find the channel. Subscribe to my YouTube if you're not already. We do one of these live chats every single week. We talk about the video game industry as a whole. We do it every week. We'll be back next week. And follow me on Twitter if you're not already. Odds are if you're here, you do. But follow me on Twitter if you don't. I'm Benji-Sales on Twitter. Thanks, everybody, for an awesome stream, an awesome chat, awesome stuff. And I'll talk to y'all later, all right? Bye, everybody.